afternoon. Thank you so much for coming. I have to do one very boring thing before we get started properly and let you know where the fire exits are in case we need them. There's no fire alarm planned today, so if an alarm goes off, we assume that it's real and you go out the way that you came in, so either side, and there will be people in high-vis for you to follow if that's needed, but fingers crossed. So, to get started properly, I'm going to welcome Professor Hert Arts to the stage, who is Deputy PVC for PGR, who is going to start our proceedings this afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to open this afternoon event. As you know, the month of May, now since for a few years, has been dedicated to PGR research. And we had many activities throughout the month, which I hope you have participated with. Yesterday and the day before, there were activities in the three faculties with their own internal presentations. And today, everyone comes together here for this whole day of talks and presentations. So in the morning, we've seen many great posters, and later today, the winners of the poster competition will be welcomed on stage as well. But we start with this afternoon with the 3MT competition. So this is a competition which started in 2008 in Queensland and has been running in Swansea since 2014. So this is actually the 10th year of this competition. And it's really to encourage PGR students to present their work in 3 minutes and bring across, what makes their research special, what is it that drives you to do the research, and what are the outcomes. And since it's a university-wide event, of course, what is very important is not to talk to your peers or maybe even to people in your faculty, but really across the whole university. So we all hope to learn a lot from the people in the front here who will talk for 3 minutes each. So this 3MT in the UK is overseen by something called Vitae, and there are various stages in this competition. So the winner of this competition will go forward to, now I have to say, make sure I don't make any mistakes, we'll go forward to the quarterfinals in July, and then there's a UK final in September. And in fact, in 2018, the Swansea winner, Laura Broom, was the first Swansea University winner to get through to the national quarterfinals and the semi-final, and she then gave a talk in the UK final in 2018 to an audience of around 400 people. So if you want to be Laura, you have to, put your best foot forward. On top of that, the winner of today's competition will also present at Swansea University's Research and Innovation Awards, which is later in the month, or maybe I don't know exact dates, actually in June maybe. So there are some interesting things happening if you win here. So how is it judged? There's a panel of 3 judges. I won't tell you where they sit, but they actually sit exactly over there. And it's the three PGR involved leads or academics from each faculty. So it's Maurizio Piai from Science and Engineering, Gideon Kelder from Humanities and Social Sciences, and Yamni Nigam from Health, Medicine and Life Sciences. So they will be judging your presentations, and then after a short coffee break, we'll come back to present the awards to the winners. So it's, as I said, my pleasure to welcome everyone here, the speakers and the audience, and I hope we have an insightful afternoon. So I'll hand it back to Teresa now, who will lead the event.
Okay, thanks very much, Hert. So my name's Teresa Phipps. I work in the Postgraduate Research Office, doing lots of things to support the development of our PGRs, including running this 3-minute thesis competition. I'll just tell you a tiny bit about how it's going to work today, and then we can crack on and hear the presentations. So as you might guess from the title, each student has exactly 3 minutes to communicate their research to you. They can have one slide to accompany that, but the slide's not allowed to have any animations, or they're not allowed to have any props either. So it's really just them, their words, and the images on their slide. You'll see a timer on the screen which will count down from 3 minutes over towards that side, and then there will be a beep at the end. And for our presenters, there are 2 of our colleagues in the audience who will have a 20-second warning sign that they will hold up for you, 1 on each side, so you can keep an eye on them if you want to. This year, as in previous years, we've had qualifying rounds for this competition. We had 1 on each campus, and we had another set of judges for those. So we had Simeon Smith from Swansea Employability Academy, Thomas Watson from RISE, and Estelle Hart from the Postgraduate Research Office. So all colleagues who have kind of different expertise about how we communicate, either about ourselves and our skills and what we offer to the world, or about research. And those judges were fantastic in giving our participants lots of really useful feedback, which they've been able to put into their presentations for the final. And then, as Gert has already said today, we have our 3 judges as well, who will be judging according to the rules that are kind of used worldwide for this competition. So they have 2 categories which they'll be scoring against. So one is comprehension and content. So it's kind of what the presenters are saying. And then engagement and communication. So that's a bit more how they're saying it to you. And they will be giving a score out of 7 for each of those categories. And then that will be compiled, and then we will eventually have a winner. We've got 13 presenters today in our final, and they're from all of our 3 faculties. And what I'm personally really pleased about this year is we've got several people who are in the first year of their doctoral programme, and even some people who only started in January, and we start this process in January. So they've really thrown themselves in at the deep end, which I think is really admirable and hopefully also really useful in right from the start thinking about the kind of big picture of why they're doing their research and how you can share that with the world more broadly. So yeah, we've got students across all different stages of research. So we're going to hear from each person in turn. I will invite each person up to the stage and introduce them to you. You'll see a slide that has their name, the title of their talk and their faculty, and then that will move on to the slide that they have designed to support their talk. And the timing for the 3 minutes will start when each person starts talking. So don't worry, you don't have to sprint to get on the stage or anything like that. And yeah, as I said, we'll see the timer up there. So without further ado, we'll get started. I'm sure you want to hear from our presenters. So first, coming to the stage is Chloe Morgan from the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Sciences. And Chloe is right in the final stages of her PhD. And if you were here last year, you might recognise Chloe, who took part in 3MT last year and had such a great time, that she came back for more, which I think is such a great testament, hopefully, for 3MT. So, Chloe, when you're ready, over to you.
Between Google Maps, Apple Maps and sat-navs, most of us are able to navigate the world around us pretty easily. In fact, it's never been easier. Just enter your destination and away you go. This might seem like quite a simple thing, so we forget that getting lost can be quite frightening and leave you feeling scared and vulnerable. So imagine for a second you've gone somewhere you don't know. You don't have any landmarks you can look out for, maybe you don't speak the local language, so you can't ask for help. Well, this is what it can feel like when you're an adult navigating health services with a chronic condition. There are limited services for adults with chronic conditions, so navigating health services can be a near impossible task. My research explores the experiences of adults with osteogenesis imperfecta, a rare chronic condition that affects the collagen and results in extremely fragile bones and many other complications such as scoliosis and hearing loss. Its complex nature requires specialist care, which is readily available for children thanks to a network of highly specialised services throughout the UK. These are not available for adults. I conducted a qualitative study consisting of a focus group and 2 one-to-one interviews with adults who have osteogenesis imperfecta. I found that people felt very supported during their time at paediatric services, but felt that their support was absent from adult services. They felt lost, abandoned, and forgotten about. They have nowhere to turn when they have questions, and as a result, do not fully understand their condition or the treatment options that are out there for them. My research also suggested that this lack of knowledge extends into the health services. with participants expressing that their healthcare professionals did not understand osteogenesis imperfecta. So if neither the individuals nor the healthcare professionals have the necessary knowledge of the condition, how do people get the care they need? How do they access necessary treatments? And how do they leave appointments with the referrals they need to progress through health services, or if you prefer, to progress to a new checkpoint on the map? One solution is to educate individuals, ensure they fully understand their condition, its treatments and potential comorbidities, enable them to become empowered expert patients. Expert patients can play a central role in the management of chronic conditions. Their lived experience can be invaluable, and when they are given the proper skills and confidence to manage their condition, can reduce the burden on the NHS by ensuring complications and comorbidities are treated early. As they say, prevention is better than cure. In recognition of this, the outcome of my research was the development of a patient guide for people with osteogenesis imperfecta, which will provide people with more information about their condition, its treatments, and signposting of where to go when they need help. This will make them better equipped to manage their condition and advocate for themselves. My hope is that this can act as a blueprint for other chronic conditions and allow for more people to become expert patients, enabling individuals to take more control over their journey through health services and hopefully reduce some of the burden on the NHS by bridging the current gaps in service provision. Thank you.
Timing to get us started as well. So next up we have Caitlin Tanner. Caitlin is in the second year of a PhD also in the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Sciences.
I was born bilaterally profoundly deaf and I was cochlear implanted in 2016. This is me during the COVID pandemic in ITU wearing full PPE. This made communication difficult. Did you know that in 2024, 12 million adults within the UK have variations of deafness? This is expected to rise to 14.5 in 2035. This is a significant portion of the population with deafness, and can this affect our nurses too? Yes. So we have nurses coming into the profession with any variations of deafness, those who progress throughout their career with deafness, and those with age-related hearing loss, correlating with age-related. I'm really bad at this. Where was I?
You're fine. Breathe.
Right. I am interviewing deaf nurses, mild, moderate, severe and profound. We face challenges with communication, stethoscopes, alarms, emergency support, funding and more. Unfortunately, there is very limited research on the experiences of deaf nurses, their challenges, successes and support. Why is this our problem? Imagine being in hospital, waiting endlessly to see a nurse. The NHS faces staffing shortages due to retention concerns and uptake issues. It's a struggle to keep staff and it's a struggle to get more. Did you know that deaf nurses are more likely to leave if they do not receive support or believe they may negatively impact on patient care? This is alarming as we may lose highly qualified professional nurses with years of experience because of limited support. Let me tell you about what I brought to the intensive care unit in my department. I cared for patients with breathing tubes down their throats and orally. They often could not verbalise, but I was able to lip read and communicate with them and have full conversations, whereas staff would have to ask them to write what they wanted to say on a board, which meant that it was high patient effort, but at one word. We bring a different skill set to the profession in different departments. My research aims to provide guidance on support deaf nurses face and the creation of policies and deaf awareness. If we are able to support and encourage people into nursing, we can reduce socioeconomic disadvantages that they may face. We face disadvantages to education and healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caitlin. Next up, we have Sam Rice from the Faculty of Science and Engineering, who's in the third year of a PhD there. Sam, over to you.
How can we live our life without steel? It is all around us, in the communities we live in the objects we hold, and in our hopes for a green future. But how can that be when the UK steelmaking produces 2.4% of all UK greenhouse emissions, accelerating the unsustainable level of CO2 in the atmosphere? The answer is in the research. The steelworks at Port Talbot and elsewhere around the world convert iron ore to steel using a lot of fossil fuels. A key process in this journey from ore to steel is sintering. Sintering converts low-cost powdered iron ore into a strong and reducible material known as iron ore sinter. The process uses solid fossil fuel to reach temperatures of up to 1300 degrees C to convert the powdered ore into sinter, emitting large amounts of greenhouse gases in the process. But what are the options for reducing emissions? The crops for biofuels absorb CO2 to grow, and thus reducing the CO2, and there's a short cycle between use and growth, reducing the net level of CO2 in the atmosphere. The biofuel I tested incorporates wastes from growing olives, thus not requiring any extra emissions in the growth of the crop. The wastes are combined with coal, creating a hybrid fuel. The fuel performed well in laboratory tests, emitting the same amount of energy as its fossil fuel compatriot. To test how this hybrid works to make sinter, it was tested at Port Talbot. The sinter made with the biofuel withstood strength testing very well compared to the fossil fuel made sinter. In the blast furnace, sinter is converted from solid oxide to liquid iron. The faster this happens, the less fuel needs to be used, the less reductant needs to be used, thus using less fossil fuels. When tested, the hybrid-made sinter matched the performance of the fossil-made sinter. The impact this could have is a potential 23% reduction in direct fossil fuel use within the sintering process, reducing CO2 emissions because the fuel is being sourced from and is going back into plants and trees. Now, steel is always going to be vital to our way of life, and however it is made, to keep living the way we live, it is critical that we continue to look at the alternatives to fossil resources and focus on working with the environment and not against it to produce our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. We're staying in science and engineering for our next talk from Freya Hamblin, who is doing an NGD in the third year of her NGD over in science and engineering.
So I'm sure many of you who work at the university, live in Swansea, Port Talbot, or any of the surrounding areas have possibly seen the steelworks glowing of an evening. And even if you haven't, maybe you've seen the recent announcement in the news. Tata Steel is switching from a blast furnace, basic oxygen furnace, and trading it in for an electric arc furnace. We're swapping out the coke and coal, and we're trading it in for electricity as a method of melting. Well, why is this important? The iron and steel sector accounted for 9% of the global energy consumption, contributing to 7% of the CO2 emissions annually in 2020. And across the UK, as we're trying to reach that goal of being net zero by 2050, it's imperative that we tackle all 1.9 billion tonnes of CO2 entering the atmosphere annually, directly at its source. So we can use things like carbon capture technology, using methods of lower energy consumption, and recycling steel scrap. If we take a look at Port Talbot, it has the highest CO2 emissions across the whole of the UK, and switching to an electric arc furnace means we'll be able to reduce those emissions by 2/3, swapping out the 1,800 kilograms of CO2 per tonne of new steel for about 500 kilograms. So where do I come into this? Well, I want to take the electric arc furnace and couple it with using a high proportion of scrap. We've got plenty of scrap in the UK, most of it is being exported at the moment, but if we had it kept in the UK, we could increase the amount of scrap used in our steel melts. So the electric arc furnace can use up to 100% recycled steel. Nothing new, no new raw materials are extracting, whereas the previous method uses between 10 to 25% and is more energy intensive. So if we take a step back and I tell you a little bit about the steel making process and compare it to baking, both involve a complex series of steps. They're from kneading the dough to extracting raw materials, to having phase changes, chemical transformations, where you're taking that liquid cake batter and you're transforming it into that soft, fluffy cake that everyone seems to love. And if Tata Steel want to keep making that same product with the same taste, the same texture, and add new ingredients, then their method might have to change of baking. So I'm simulating scrap steel by adding in copper, tin, chrome, nickel, all of these different elements which are detrimental in high amounts. So with a higher proportion of scrap, we get a higher proportion of these residual elements. So to tackle this, I've got questions to answer. I'm can we still make the same grade of steel with these elements involved? Can we still produce the same mechanical properties like formability, where you're able to bend and shape the material without it cracking or deforming? Can we do this? And if we can't, can we change the temperature in the furnace to negate this? Because it's important to keep steelmaking in the UK and contribute towards that net zero goal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we're all experts on steelmaking, I think, thanks to those two talks. Moving to a different topic and a different faculty now, we have Cedric Burden from Medicine, Health and Life Sciences, who's in the first year of a PhD over there. So thank you, Cedric.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Asthma is not fair. That's the call from the children who suffer from asthma. Sometimes it causes them to rise to overcome it, but too often it's something of fear, something of despair in their lives. It returns to us to say, how can we bring justice? How can we bring some hope to these children? In the UK, some 11% of adults suffer from asthma. 22% of children in Wales suffer the suffocating effects of asthma. And this can lead to, you'll see a global figure there of almost 500,000 people dying from the effects of asthma. And that is likely to be an underestimate because of the difficulties of describing asthma and unknown asthma. What we are facing is a situation where our modern society and the way we do industry, the way we do our lifestyle choices and we travel has added to the pollutants in the air. We've added nitrous oxides, we've added particulate matter that makes, quite frankly, breathing a dangerous sport for some of these youngsters. Their very life depends upon clean air, and how can we help them overcome issues? In a moment of crassness, if you will forgive me, I'm going to put aside thinking about the well-being and the good mental health of our youngsters and just talk a little bit about cost. The cost of a child staying home 1 extra day a week because of asthma, a parent having to stay home for care, the hospital appointments, the impact upon economic activity and judgments on inflation and fiscal judgments in the country. These are significant issues. Fortunately, in Swansea University, a lot of excellent work has been done on linked health data, bringing together GP records, hospital records, school, environmental records, to which we can go, and I will be analysing those to look at the size of these effects and then stepping into modelling so that we can predict for government and for the health service and education policymakers, how can we build better communities? How can we build better transport? And in particular, what about this? Putting into the hands of a youngster an app that, just like a weather report predicting UV and rain, will predict dangerous asthma events due to temperature, their environment, and everything that surrounds them. If we can do that, we can enable our children and we can recover perhaps a day a week of education, 20% of education, so that we can recover their exams.
Thank you very much, Cedric. We are sticking in medicine, health and life sciences next for our next talk from Grace Hollinrake, who is also in the first year of a PhD. Over to you, Grace.
The first 1001 days of life are a time when we grow, develop and learn, and nutrition during this time is important too. Babies make the change from milk only to starting solid foods. This is called complementary feeding and happens around 6 months old. The World Health Organization has produced guidance to suggest which foods and in what quantities for optimal nutrition. During this time, babies learn new tastes and textures and eating behaviours too, which can track into adulthood. But what if you don't have the money to be able to provide the variety of foods and the optimal learning experience for your baby? This is what I'm interested in. 3 in 10 children are currently living in poverty in the UK, with the highest rates seen in families with children under 5 years old. These children can't ask, "Please, sir, I want some more." They have no voice. They're forgotten in policy, and we're letting them go without adequate food. This is because when household budgets are tight, the most flexible area is the food budget. You can't cut down on your rent or energy bills, so you have to cut down on food instead, buying lower cost, less fresh, or maybe overall less food. Food and energy prices have increased. Wages and benefits have not. We're in a cost of living crisis. Food insecurity is an unknown problem in the UK. It's a multi-dimensional problem. It can impact the quality and quantity of food. It can have a psychological impact of stress and anxiety, and it can have a social impact of how people are accessing food. Food banks have become normal. In the UK, there are more food banks than McDonald's, outnumbering by more than 1,000, and they're seeing more families with children accessing them. This is why my research is focusing on the impact of the cost of living crisis and household food insecurity on complementary feeding. There's limited research, particularly in the UK, looking at this. I'm inviting parents from across the UK to participate. I will reach them by using an online questionnaire and online interviews. I'll then group my data by household food security status, measured using a valid questionnaire, to see if it does have an impact on babies' diet, feeding practices, and also parent well-being. My findings will highlight parents' experiences of feeding their baby with limited government support and stretched finances, and really to get their voices heard, to influence policy to include babies, and to increase financial support for food insecure households with babies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grace. We're whistling through these today. Next up, we are going back to science and engineering. We have Lydia Bullock, who's in the 3rd year of her PhD. Thank you very much, Lydia.
The goal of my PhD is to help the healthcare industry to produce diagnostic medical tests that are reliable, accurate, and get them out to patients faster. So to do this, I'll talk about 3 things today. Number 1 is a lateral flow test. Number 2, something called a chemical fingerprint. And number 3, a computer model. So, starting with lateral flow tests, like this one here. You may have taken one for COVID, but did you know you can take one to test for many other illnesses as well? Inside the test, a chemical reaction happens which gives you your positive or your negative result. Now, my research is sponsored by Siemens Healthineers, who produce these tests commercially and other tests like them. The aim overall is to study the proteins that go into these tests, which are a key ingredient, I forgot to mention, and then I will develop a computer model in order to have a quality control process. Because if a bad batch of these proteins comes in, and we will then risk producing medical tests that aren't up to the standard, we can't release them, costing time, money, and resources. So how can we tell if the proteins are good or not? Using something called a chemical fingerprint, we obtain this from a technique called Raman spectroscopy, which I'm using to study the proteins. Now, the chemical fingerprint is unique to every substance, just like how a human fingerprint is unique to every human. Now, in this graph here, I have measured the chemical fingerprint of bovine serum albumin, and from the peaks here, I can identify it as this protein and also tell that it's in good condition. To understand what the bad proteins look like, I've done some experiments to break their chemical structure, such as heating them, shaking them, changing their pH, and freezing them as well, because the chemical fingerprint will change when the proteins get damaged. So now that we've got all this good and bad protein data, I have written a computer model that can tell me the difference between the good and bad proteins. Using machine learning and an algorithm, a supervised learning algorithm called random forest, I've shown this model good and bad protein data so that it can learn and therefore learn what the proteins look like, and when I've shown it new proteins, it's able to really accurately predict which ones are good and which ones are bad. So this can be put into the quality control process for Siemens Healthineers in their production line, stop production loss and waste. This improves the sustainability of the company, and by reducing waste also makes the test cheaper and more accessible to patients. So this will help society and is in line with the UN goals for healthcare and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lydia. All this science that we didn't know was behind those lateral flow tests that we've used. Next up, we're staying in science and engineering with Beth and Miles, who is in the second year of an ND. Over to you.
Energy is expensive, and it's costing us too much money, and we're sacrificing too much for it. We need solar energy to maintain our lifestyles and to continue to develop both nationally and internationally. The solar panels that we have at the moment are expensive. They take the sand from our beaches, and in order to make 1 kilogram of the base material is the same as running your washing machine 129 times. These heavy devices are then shipped around the world encased in glass, which costs not only money, but increases the carbon emissions associated with the production of them. What if we could ship the components as easily as shipping a few bottles of wine, print them using machinery designed for printing t-shirts, and print them onto steel, strong, durable, flexible. On your left here is a perovskite structure. Just the arrangement is called perovskite. You can put anything you want in there, and it's an absolutely magical material. Depending on what you put in there, changes the energy in the bonds, just like two teams playing tug of war, pulling against each other. If the teams are bigger or they're further away, then it changes the energy going through that straining rope. And these bonds can absorb light, just like wind pushing on a rope, pushing it out of place, almost breaking it, deforming it. And if you were to change that energy, transform it like a crack as you pull that rope back into place, then you can use it for important things. The right setup can harvest electricity from this material, and we can use it to keep hospital lights on, to watch your favourite TV programmes, or even to keep that washing machine running. The other magical thing about this material is it can be dissolved in relatively low toxicity solvents and printed using processes that we've been using for decades. We've got many hurdles. Those straining bonds can easily break, and anyone that's used a printer ever knows how mercurial they can be. This is where I come in. I'm helping to strengthen those bonds or ensuring they reform if they do break. Testing different temperatures, times, speeds, additives, thicknesses, and even seeing if the horoscope of the material actually makes a difference when you make it. Getting that right balance and persuading lab breakthroughs to actually survive their first contact with reality is more of an art than a science in a lot of ways. In only 15 years, this material has gone from being barely functional to catching up to pre-existing technologies. We can repurpose factories and printing expertise, reduce reliance on large-scale power grids, and show the world how to do it. It's a very difficult material to work with, I'm not going to lie, but as you can see on the left here, it's quite beautiful, and I'm really excited to be helping it over the finishing line to being useful to everyone, and I really hope that this is not the last time that you hear the word perovskite.
Thank you very much, Bethan. Next up, we have Ene Oko from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. Ene is in the first year of a PhD in that faculty. Ene, over to you.
Sorosoke, Sorosoke, NSAS, speak up boldly, speak up fearlessly. These were the loud chants from young Nigerians as they marched through several cities in Nigeria. How? Had this small conversation on Twitter after a viral video showing Special Anti-Robbery Squad SAS officers in Nigeria dragging out 2 men from a hotel and shooting one of them to death become such a big thing. In the words of my 72-year-old mom, it had never happened like this in Nigeria before, where we have Christians, Muslims from the north, south, east, and west part of the city unite together for the same cause. Youths and celebrities usually aloof concerning the issues of governance, but here they were on the streets singing and chanting the same song, End SARS, Sorosoke, End SARS. Exactly after 9 days of this protest, the notorious Special Anti-Robbery Squad, which had enjoyed impunity for the continued use of torture, rape, extortion, death, and other ill treatments to extract information from suspects, was finally disbanded by the government. According to Wole Soyinka, an 89-year-old Nigerian Nobel Prize winner in literature, these youths brought fresh blood to tired veins. It was indeed bliss to be alive to watch them finally take their future in their hands. My research would like to find out, what was different this time? How did media technologies and platforms aid the cause of the End SARS movement in Nigeria? These questions need to be answered because I believe that for us, youths in Nigeria, social media has to be more than entertainment. It is that vehicle for the social change and development that we very much need. Mediatized activism recognizes the significant role that media plays in shaping public discourse, mobilizing supporters, and disseminating information about social and political causes. So through mixed methodology approach involving content analysis, critical discourse analysis, and semi-structured interviews and focus group discussions, I'll be examining posts on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram during this protest to see what kind of messages were shared and what languages were used in these messages to motivate the youths to act differently this time around. Findings from my research would inform policymakers and activists about the effectiveness of using media platforms and social media for political movements and social movements in Nigeria, raise public awareness about the impact of mediatized activism for social change in Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ene. Next up, we are back in Science and Engineering with Selina Dlofo, who is in the second year of her PhD.
Batteries are part of our everyday life. I believe we all have at least 2 devices that require batteries. For example, cell phones, computers, among other items. Most of the batteries on those devices, they are made of lithium, but we do have a problem with this element.
First, it's how we get the lithium. So the extraction of lithium is not necessarily in place and operative. Second, lithium is not available in countries which are highly demanded. For example, England, France, and Germany, they only have less than 3% of lithium as a world ranking. And the biggest problem with lithium-ion batteries is their disposal, which is toxic. It can contaminate water supplies and the ecosystem. My research proposes that we replace the use of lithium for sodium in this situation. Sodium can be extracted from salt lakes. Sodium is an element which is non-toxic, it is less flammable, and is way more available in the world when comparing to lithium. During the past years, sodium-ion batteries have attracted a scientific interest, and one of the expected applications is on electrical vehicles. Batteries can mainly be composed by a positive side, a negative side, and we have the electrolytes, which is what I manufacture at the lab. Electrolytes can be defined as a medium that conducts the movement between the positive and the negative side on a batteries. The steps that I take during my research to manufacture a sodium-ion electrolyte is basically mixing sodium with other elements, mixing sodium with other elements and solvents. I then place the solution in the oven to dry. And finally, the solution is heated at temperatures higher than 1,000 degrees Celsius. And based on the characterization that I've done so far, yes, it has been proven that I was able to manufacture a sodium-ion electrolyte. In conclusion, batteries, they do provide the backup power, they do store energy from renewables, and they're highly being used in cars, among other applications. The demand of batteries is increasing with time, so it is important that the future manufacturers of batteries, researchers try their best to make them as much environment friendly as they can, and besides that, they will also be working towards a United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Selena. We are staying in science and engineering again for our next presentation, which is from Ollie Fryatt, who is in the first year of PhD in science and engineering. Over to you, Ollie.
Solar panels are everywhere. They've become the cheapest and cleanest form of energy in human history, which has led to a production boom of over 1,000% in just the last decade. You can spot them in fields, along motorways, and on rooftops. But here's a question. What happens to these panels when they reach their end of life? By 2050, we expect there will be $15 billion worth of recoverable materials from these old solar panels. Yet, currently, we don't have an established method for recycling these. My research aims to change that. So let's break down a solar panel. Typically, it'll consist of an aluminium frame and an electrical junction box. These can be easily removed using hand tools such as hammers and screwdrivers. The rest of the panel I like to imagine as a sandwich with a plastic backsheet at the bottom, silicon solar cells in the middle, and a thick glass layer on top. And this is all held together with a tough glue called EVA. So what I'm really interested in is this top layer of glass, because if we can recover this as a single piece, we can reuse it in windows and new solar panels. So the reason I'm focusing on the glass is because it's the most valuable part of the panel. It makes up about 80% of the weight of the total panel and is incredibly energy intensive to manufacture. So to put it in a bit of perspective, if we want to manufacture the number of panels needed for net zero, this will account for about 11% of global CO2 emissions. That's the same as all global road vehicles combined. But we can reduce this number massively if we reuse recycled glass. But the big thing preventing recycling is this EVA glue layer. My research proposes using liquid nitrogen to cool the panels to around negative 200 degrees Celsius. Different materials contract at different rates, and the EVA glue contracts about 50 times more than the other layers. This leads to a massive stress between the layers and potentially allows the separation of the glass in a single clean piece. So I began by simulating this computationally. Then I've tested it experimentally on small sections of solar panels, and soon we hope to progress to recycling full-scale panels. So if successful, we then hope to collaborate with industrial recyclers to develop a robust process which can handle the mountains of solar panel waste coming our way. So when you head home tonight, I want you all to take a moment to look out for the solar panels around you. Just imagine, with effective recycling, those solar panels could have a second life, contributing even more to our clean energy future. By making solar panels truly sustainable, we not only keep them out of landfill, but we also ensure the continued growth of affordable and renewable energy for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ollie. We have two presenters left. The first of those is Anna Wojciechova, who is another one of our first-year students in the first year of an ND in Faculty of Science and Engineering. Anna, over to you.
It's just paint. But can you imagine a world without paint? Rusty cars, corroded appliances, degraded steel facades. A layer of paint as thin as a fingernail is vital for the largest metalworking industries. All this paint equals millions of tons of paint produced every year, requiring an enormous amount of resources and money. But the currency dearer than money? Carbon footprint. Extracting raw materials for paint production leaves a large environmental debt for future generations. And while metals recycled, the paint is incinerated with no recovery from the ashes, wasting all the resources and greenhouse gas emissions spent on it. But let me tell you that only one paint ingredient can be a game changer. This baby. Not some polymer, but titanium dioxide or TiO2. You might have met it in sunscreens. This pigment gives paint excellent UV resistance and opacity. The paint is up to 20% TiO2, and if acquired from raw materials, this share accounts for 60% of paint carbon footprint, 60%. You might have guessed it already. If we recycle TiO2 and reuse it in new paint, we'll cut the paint's carbon footprint by half. Recycling other paint components can further reduce the environmental impact. How can we recycle them? That's the core question of this research. The first challenge is overcoming the paint's strong adhesion to metal. So we are freezing the samples with liquid nitrogen to make the paint brittle and shake off a substrate. We're also testing the electrochemical delamination, the leaching of zinc from the underlay, and other methods. But our priority is finding which method has the least negative environmental impact. Once we isolate the paint, we need to extract its components. While one option is to burn off the paint to collect inorganic TiO2 from the ashes, we are aiming at preserving the organics and breaking polymers into monomers. So, extracting paint components for their reuse in new paint can help tackle climate change. The UK has pledged to achieve the net zero emissions by 2050, and every sector must contribute. So the next time you think it's just paint, remember its part in shaping our sustainable future.
Thank you very much, Anna. And finally, but definitely, well, last but not least, that is the saying, isn't it? But definitely not least, is Simon Wright, who is again in the first year of a PhD in the Faculty of Medicine, Health and Life Sciences. So Simon, over to you.
When people join the armed forces, it is a fact they are risking their lives for us. But when they come home, many don't function that well. Last year, a study in Swansea found that 43% of our veterans struggled with problematic gambling. When this effect was examined, and in many cases, it was found to be a coping mechanism or a symptom of PTSD. Therefore, if we want to help that gambling, we also need to help and address the PTSD underlying it. Unfortunately, the NICE guidelines endorse a therapy called CBT, which is ineffective in the treatment of this particular problem. Not only that, CBT is offered face-to-face or in groups, and this presents a particular problem for military personnel because they feel in seeking help is a sign of weakness. So, we need a therapy that works, and we need a way to get these guys in treatment and stop them not attending or dropping out from treatment. Apps are a wonderful solution to this because they can be used in the privacy of your own home, and they can be adapted quickly to allow for new therapies to be designed and delivered, which could help. One such therapy is called acceptance and commitment therapy, or also known as ACT. And ACT has already been proven to be effective in the treatment of PTSD and gambling, and ACT has been tested and has been proven to work with veterans as well. So this is where my work comes in, because ACT has never before been placed in an app. So that is exactly what myself and my team have done. So we see here a screenshot of ACT Vet. This is the app that's already been produced and is out there ready to go. I'm going to be testing the effectiveness of this app, and if we get positive results, we can not only help the veterans I've described, but we hope many other people as well. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Simon, and thank you so much to all of our presenters. I'm always in awe of all of you, and you know, it might feel like it's only 3 minutes, but I think it's such a hard task to take this, you know, really detailed, complex research project that they're all doing, and firstly distill it into 3 minutes and into this language that means that we can all understand what they're doing. So it's a huge challenge, and you know, it's been fascinating to hear about all the work that you're all doing and all of the ways, and so many different ways, that this impacts on us and on the world that we live in. This isn't just kind of theoretical research that lives in a university, but it's about the real world as well, and I think you've all communicated that really well. So now our judges have the very difficult task of trying to pick a winner from these fantastic presentations. So they are going to have some time to reflect and deliberate, and everyone else gets to go and have a cup of tea and some more refreshments. So that will be downstairs. You can make your way down there, and then we're going to reconvene up here at just before 3:30 to find out who's the winner of this, and also our poster competition, and we've got some other awards to give out then as well. 3MT participants, can you stay where you are just for a minute? I won't deprive you of a break, but just for a couple of minutes. But yeah, can you join me in thanking all of our participants again?
Hello, everybody. It's fantastic to see so many of you here today to celebrate the PGR Showcase. My name is Jo Wolno, and I'm the Postgraduate Research Officer supporting scholarship schemes in the PGRO. This event is really the highlight of the PGR calendar year. It's where we learn a bit more about the incredible research that our fantastic students are undertaking. As you've heard today, there's so many interesting things going on here. Before I introduce Gert, could I please just, if you are lucky enough to win an award, could I please ask you to enter stage left here? And if you want to just trot along to the middle there to receive your award, have a little handshake and photograph, that'd be fantastic. And you can exit that side as well, please. Unless you're asked to stay back for a little photograph as well. So I'd like to now introduce Professor Gert Arts, please, to tell us a bit more about these prestigious awards. Thank you, Gert.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to welcome everyone again. So most of you, or some of you, were here to listen to the 3MT talks, and the participants are sitting here, and some of you are only attending for this award ceremony, so welcome to you as well. We actually are handing out many awards in this session, and they're on this table there. So we have the 3-minute thesis awards, the poster competition that was run in the morning, and the James Callahan Awards and Prizes, which is also an annual prize. So we've got many things to look forward to. Just to say, I really enjoyed both the poster session in the morning and the 3MT session just now. I think it shows there's an enormous amount of research going on in the university. And well, the two things that were striking to me. And the first one was that there were a lot of problems that are present now, which needs to be addressed. And this is quite different maybe from how it was when I did my PhD a long time ago. No, is that a lot of PhD projects were looking in the future, like let's do research that is relevant maybe in 20 years' time or in 50 years' time. But there were a lot of presentations just before the break which are about issues that are relevant now. So it's great that you're working on it and hopefully can make a contribution that will really address those issues. And the second one is, as was already also noted by Teresa, we had quite a lot of first-year students participating in the 3MT. And there was an amazing amount of promise there. But of course, you now have to deliver on that promise. And so you may come back in 2 years' time and do another 3MT and report on the results that you have achieved. That would be amazing. So those were the few general words I wanted to say. Let me see if Teresa wants me to say something more. Anyhow, yeah, so a few general things about winning an award. So winning an award is of course very special, and you should not be silent about it. You know, we don't win that many awards. So celebrate the award, celebrate with your friends and your family. And also, you know, whenever you apply to the next stage of your career, it's worth mentioning if you win something to actually mention it, because it's something to be proud of. It's not something that just happened on what happened to be a sunny afternoon today. It's something to really, you know, be proud of and treasure. So those are my general words, and I'm handing back to Jo now.
Thank you, Gert, and I'm handing over to Teresa.
Musical presenters. So I'm going to announce the results from the 3-minute thesis and the poster competition. So I think, you know, most of you, I think, were here and saw our fantastic 3-minute thesis presentations. And as we heard at the start, so the winner from today will go through to the UK competition. So there's a quarterfinal, and eventually there's a UK final that takes place in September. So 3MT is not just something we do here. It's actually, you know, it's a UK-wide, but also a global competition. So that is the future for our winner. But before we announce the winner, I think we'd like to invite all of our participants up onto the stage for a final time, if you don't mind. You are the main event of today, so let's give them all a round of applause. Okay, so the runner-up today was Lydia Bullock. Well done, Lydia.
We'll do this 50 more times.
And the winner was Ollie Fryatt. And I'm sure none of us would want to be the judges who were having to decide between so many brilliant presentations. We've got certificates for all of you, so we'll make sure you get those before you go home. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's give them a big clap again. And you can go and sit down. And then the next of our competitions today to announce is the poster competition, which I'm sure you've seen downstairs. We've got this room full of fantastic posters from all sorts of different subject areas. And again, such a wonderful way to get an insight into all of the brilliant research that is going on here by our PGRs. We've done things slightly differently this year. So we had our judges who were going around and scoring and talking to all of the presenters who've made their posters, and those posters actually kind of fed through to us from each of the faculty conferences that took place earlier this week. And again, I'm sure lots of you were at those faculty events, so we were able to bring together the best posters from those faculty events to have this great kind of exhibition of multidisciplinary research here today. As I said, the posters were reviewed by judges, and also lots of you voted for your favourite poster as well. And we have, by the magic of spreadsheets, combined the voting and the judging to come up again with a runner-up and a winner. So our runner-up, who I'm not sure if she's still here, but we'll find out. Our runner-up is Kelsey Allen. Are you here, Kelsey? Yes? You've got a long way down. Well done, Kelsey. And the winner, if they're here, is Tabitha Lewis. Well done, Tabitha. Well done. And again, huge well done to everyone that has made a poster, taken part in a conference this week. It needs all of you for these events to work, and I hope you found it a really enjoyable and useful experience that you can take forward out into the world to other conferences and other events. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, well done, everybody. It's fantastic. We now have the James Callahan Award and prizes. And to present these awards, can I please ask Professor Helt Arts again? Do you want to say your piece?
Say a few words. Yeah. Okay. So these prizes have been long established actually at the university, and they are made available to, of course, recognize research excellence. And we have two prizes here. One is for current PGR students, and one is for the thesis award. So this is for a thesis that's completed, and it's both at the doctoral level and at the master level. And so in total, we've got 4 prizes to hand out. The doctoral thesis prize, the master's thesis prize, the research award, and the research runner-up award.
Brilliant, thank you. And so the winner of the James Callaghan Doctoral Thesis Prize, and I don't think he was out of the country, I think it's Ulla Egan, School of Law, but I think that Michelle, his supervisor, or Yvonne, fantastic. You can collect the award on his behalf, that'd be brilliant, thank you. Brilliant, thank you very much. And the James Callaghan Master's Thesis Prize goes to Bethan Here in Geography. Is Bethan here? She's not here, but we'll catch her. Then the James Callaghan Research Award, that goes to Ella Harford, History, Heritage and Classics. Is she here? Good. Well done, Ella. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Ella. Brilliant. Well done. And now the James Callaghan Research Award runner-up. That goes to Alex Dawson, History, Heritage and Classics again. Well done, Alex. Come on, come on. Brilliant. And then there were also some entrants who were highly commended, 6 in total. I'm not sure if any of them are here actually, but I will read your names. Please do come down if your name's read out. Kieran Burgess, David Williams, Natalie Shaleva, Faith Goodliff, Clara Madge and Enjud Al-Sawi. We'll catch up with them, the names are on the list now. Okay, now we're moving on to the next award, which is the Associate Fellowship of the Higher Education Academy. And here to present the award is Chris Hall. He is the Academic Development Manager for SALT. Thank you very much.
Before congratulating our Associate Fellows, I'd like to give some background on what they've done to achieve Associate Fellowship and why it's important. Associate Fellowship of Advanced Ed demonstrates a personal commitment to professionalism in learning and teaching in higher education. And the PGR Associate Fellows have, as part of the course, explored classroom teaching, assessment and feedback, creating effective learning environments and student support, amongst lots of other things. And in addition to this, they've been observed by experienced teachers and reflected on what they're already doing well and how they can develop their teaching. And finally, they've completed a reflexive account of who they are as teachers and how they meet the requirements of Associate Fellowship. Their applications were then reviewed by experienced members of staff, and the final decision to award Associate Fellowship is made by a panel of experienced teachers from across the university who themselves are fellows and who hold fellowship at various categories. And the award of Associate Fellowship is a professional recognition of them as teachers, and that recognition comes from Advanced HE, the awarding body, and also their teaching colleagues across the university. So it's a very important award and a good first step in their careers as they progress. So I'll call them in no particular order.
Absolutely.
The first is Holly Mogford. Okay.
Okay, next up is John Rogers, Egyptology. Well done, John. Felicity McKee, History, Heritage and Classics. Felicity, is she here? Daisy Oluwasina, Management. Daisy? Oh, fantastic. And Freya Fu, Civil Engineering. Freya here? Thank you very much. Well done. Okay, now we have the Outstanding Contribution to Public Engagement Award. And here, who's that for? Oh. Well, Rian. Presented by Rian, Chair of Swansea University Public Engagement Forum. Rian, if you'd like to say a few words about this award, please. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, I'm Ria Morris. As Joe said, I'm the chair of the Public Engagement Forum at Swansea, and we're delighted to present these awards which celebrate PGRs who take their work beyond the limits of the university to share their knowledge and their passion with a broader audience. Not only is it a great test of researchers' ability to communicate their specialist knowledge in a way that is engaging and meaningful, for non-specialists, it's also one of the key ways in which we ensure the benefits of academic research are shared beyond research communities. It also provides an opportunity for mutual benefit where the public or communities are able to share their experiences and needs, and we can take that back to adapt the way that we perform the research. We have two prizes, one a winner, one a runner-up, and we have several highly commended for public engagement awards.
Fantastic. Okay, look, so the runner-up first of all. The runner-up is Catherine Watson, History, Heritage and Classics. Catherine here. Catherine Watson has made a significant impact by organising and presenting at many events, including a public lecture at Swansea Museum. She also arranged trips to local heritage sites and manages an engaging Instagram account that documents her PhD journey and making history accessible and interesting to the public. So well done her. Thank you, Catherine. And then the winner, and I've looked forward to saying this name all day because it's so lovely, is Chloe Tulip for psychology. Ah, she's here. Chloe has excelled in developing and delivering evidence-based sleep courses for community groups across Swansea and beyond. Using findings from her PhD research, she crafted the course content, created resources and actively participated in the delivery of the programme. Through her presence as a person and a researcher, Chloe has greatly contributed to breaking down barriers and sharing the exciting impact research can have on everybody's lives. Well done, Chloe. And then there is a highly commended for public engagement, and that award, well, there's three winners here who are highly commended, and that is Flo Avery, Medicine. Is she here? Daniel Britton, Material Science and Engineering. And Jack Hicks-Jones, Biosciences. Each of these commendable individuals has gone way above and beyond in sharing their research with the public, demonstrating the importance and excitement of academic work beyond the confines of the university. Their efforts embody the true spirit of public engagement, making research accessible and impactful for everybody. Well done, everybody. outstanding contribution to a PGR culture and community. And to present that award is Ian Mabbott. He is the DPBC Research Culture. Thank you, Ian.
Well, hello. It's an absolute honour and pleasure to be here. This is a really uplifting thing to actually be asked to do. So thank you for brightening up my week, at least anyway. I think I'll start maybe just by explaining a little bit about what research culture really is, what it means, how we define it. And the sort of gold standard at the moment, the one that everybody uses, is the Royal Society definition. And I'll use that, but I'll read it so I don't mess it up. The Royal Society have years everywhere, okay, so I don't want to butcher it in public. So research culture encompasses the behaviours, values, expectations, attitudes and norms of our research communities. It influences researchers' career paths and determines the way research is conducted and communicated. So that's pretty broad. Okay? That really sets the scene for everything that we do. And I think it's really important to recognise the role that PGR has in that. So postgraduate researchers really are the heart of our research communities. I speak to a lot of grumpy professors in this role, including myself. I'm looking at one over there, actually. Hi, Tris. And I think one of the things that I find is when I talk to those grumpy professors, what they're fiercely defensive of isn't their own environment. It's you. It's the PGR communities and their postdoctoral communities, because that is what drives the culture. And importantly, that's what drives the future culture. So I think the little changes that we can make at this level really do have a ripple throughout the university. That's really important to know. So these awards are here to share and celebrate the people who make a meaningful and positive difference to PGRs at Swansea. So people who are improving research culture, the community and the overall experience. And I think that's important because that can be done by staff and students alike, including professional services. I think it's important to note that we've had a lot of recognition of professional services contributions to this. Invitations were invited across the university community, and we're absolutely thrilled to have received over 60 nominations from across all of the faculties and those professional services. So that number and breadth gives you a real indication of how much people care, how passionate people are to getting this right, and the importance of postgraduate research across the university and the broader culture of our university. It's actually, I think it's really difficult to award people for this because there are a huge number of deserving nominations, and I'm really pleased that the PGR team have decided to showcase all of the excellent contributions that have come through. So the stories are shared as part of, that were shared as part of the nomination process can be found in your PGR Showcase brochure, and they will appear online shortly. But there were some outstanding nominations from both the student and the staff categories. So I think we'll hear those now and we'll celebrate them.
Thank you, Ian. Brilliant. So the student PGR, the winner is Ella Harford. Is Ella here? History, Heritage and Classics. Ella was nominated for resurrecting the PGR Society and developing a stronger feeling of community and social connection for PGR students. New members join regularly, and the Society runs a range of events, including socials and research activities, such as a conference on disability in research, impact and history in November 2023. Without Ella's initiative and persistence, the PGR Society would not have been resurrected, and she has done well to recruit a group of supportive students who now help her lead the Society and organise events. Students now starting at Swansea as a PGR student can expect to be welcomed in a lively and diverse community. This was certainly not the case when Ella started a few years ago, so well done, Ella. It's fantastic. And the staff award, well, that will go to... Pardon? Oh, okay, got you, sorry. And another student, that is Marco Fele, Biosciences. Marco was nominated for his contribution to the research community in the development of maths and his efforts to go above and beyond in sharing his skills with other researchers, particularly through his contribution to biosciences modelling sessions. His enthusiasm for a robust quantitative research science is infectious and has had a strong and positive impact on the research culture and community of biosciences staff and students. So well done, Marco. And then we go on to staff. So the first of the staff winners is James Courtney, Chemical Engineering. James was nominated by multiple students and colleagues for his efforts to enhance the research culture and community within the department, from setting up a journal club, a funding club, to organising regular socials and even buying plants for the office. Since arriving, James has been instrumental in changing the mood and working environment of ESRI. Post-COVID, the office culture had all but died, but with far lower numbers of attendees and a lonely working atmosphere, James has put an extensive work into improving this both consciously and just by his friendly nature and cheeriness. Oh, that's so lovely. Well done, James. And the second of our lovely professional services staff members is Yan Wu, Media. Yan Wu was nominated by several colleagues and PGR students for her commitment to supporting PGRs across the media department, ensuring that PGRs are included in the research activities of the department. She provides opportunities to gain research experience, mentoring and training, as well as being a supportive and inclusive examiner for multiple vivas. Her particular support for international PhD students was also highlighted by several nominators. Her mentorship has prepared me, someone has quoted as saying, to tackle complex challenges with confidence and creativity, making a lasting impact on my professional journey. That's so lovely. Well done, Yan Wu. And that is it for the awards. Well done, everybody who has won today, everybody who's entered. Did you want to say a few words to close? Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thanks Joe, and thanks Rian, and thanks Ian. So this is the end of the afternoon, but I want to thank a lot of people who were involved in this. Lots of professional service staff in the PGR office and in the faculty teams. It's a lot of work to run the PGR festival. We've done it now for a number of years, so we're getting better and better at it. Teresa should be nodding yes now. But I think it's a great event. As what Ian mentioned, research culture is extremely important in the university for everyone. It affects every individual, and PGR students are really instrumental in that. And it was great to see so many people here and to be able to hand out so many heavy awards as well. That's a great success. So thanks everyone, and see you around, and hopefully see you next year at the same event. Thank you.